Hey, what's up guys, Tim here again, and this is my review of the Ganzo G710. So, as you can quite clearly see, this knife has been made to look like that of the Benchmade 950 Rift. Manufactured by the Ganzo Knife Company out of Guangdong or Guangdong, China, it's no surprise that these homages are on the market, as China has been known to counterfeit just about everything from car parts to soy sauce. But hey, at least these aren't being marketed as genuine Benchmades. Now with that elephant out of the way, let's have a closer look at the knife. The G710 features a 3.5-inch 440C stainless steel hollow ground blade with an overall length of 8 1/8 inches or 20.5 centimeters. Its blade shape is that of a reverse tanto with an unsharpened swedge on the spine of the blade. The length of the cutting edge and its adequate belly and strong tip allow this knife to fill the role of large EDC blade and even as a self-defense blade. The 440C stainless steel blade has good corrosion resistance, takes a great edge, and holds it quite modestly depending on the severity of your cutting tasks. The knife itself comes razor sharp out of the box and makes quick work of the usual cut test materials. The G710 weighs in at a slightly beefier 5.6 ounces and is by no means a lightweight knife. This is mainly due to the fact that the stainless steel liners have not been skeletonized or milled out whatsoever, which is not a deal breaker as it still carries quite nicely in the pocket without being too noticeable, depending on what you're used to carrying, that is. Deployment of the blade is via dual thumb studs, and the action of this knife is very smooth. Out of box, it may need a little breaking in, but after a day of opening and closing the knife repeatedly like a knifeaholic spaz, it wore in very nicely, despite only having Teflon bushings. Deploying this knife with the thumb studs does work well, however, with the thicker blade stock, it doesn't fly out as it would with a Griptilian. For this same reason, the D10 and in-handle blade retention are not the strongest, as the blade can come out of the handle when given a hard enough shake. This, however, is not completely a negative, as the hefty blade allows the knife to be opened with a quick flick of the wrist, and which, in my opinion, is even easier than using the thumb studs. Lockup, as you may have already noticed, is achieved through the axis lock mechanism, which, by the way, has good lockup and zero up, down, or left-right blade play. However, due to the heavily criticized strength of the omega springs in the axis lock mechanism, you may want to reserve this knife for moderate to light-duty cutting tasks. The handle consists of G10 scales that have been machined with the very same scalloped pattern of the 950 Rift. When compared to, say, the G10 of the Spyderco Tenacious, the traction of the G10 on the Ganzo is substantially much more aggressive. The ergonomics of the handle are somewhat comfortable, but due to the slightly sharper edges on the handle scales, a slight amount of discomfort can be experienced when gripping the handle tightly. There's also a small amount of recessed jimping on the thumb ramp, but it's much more aesthetic than functional. Also present is a more than large enough lanyard hole to feed 550 paracord through. The pocket clip can be mounted for tip-up left or right side carry, which, combined with the axis lock, makes for a truly ambidextrous knife. The clip itself has just the right amount of strength and allows for easy extraction from the pants pocket. However, the strength of this clip feels as if it could be bent out of shape if caught on something, so do be careful. Believe it or not, the pocket clip is actually anodized and not just painted. This means that the black coloration has much better durability and doesn't scratch off as easily like the painted clips of the Griptilian and Spyderco Delica. Considering its cost, it's truly amazing. Which leads us to our next issue. At the measly $20 shipped out the door price point, this knife is truly a steal. However, as they do ship out from Hong Kong and China, you may have to wait slightly longer to receive your purchase depending on where you live. The overall fit and finish of this knife is actually very good. Blade centering is only slightly off, and the machining on the G10 had only one small blemish on it. Also, on this particular knife, one of the handle scales has the slightest amount of movement against the liner. However, this movement is only a couple of millimeters at best and can only be felt and not really seen with the naked eye. All things considered, for the price you pay, it's really difficult to genuinely complain or have any gripes about this knife. And like many other things in the consumer world, you get what you pay for, and what you don't pay for, you don't get. The Ganzo G710 somehow ignores this notion and delivers big value for a small price. That is not to say the original Benchmade 950 Rift is overpriced at all or not worth it. The whole point of this review is to simply show you, the consumer, that there are much more affordable options out there. Because hey, let's face it, not everyone has $150 to spend on a knife, and again, everyone is different. You know, take it for what it's worth, different strokes for different folks, blah blah blah. So in the end, if you don't mind sporting a quote-unquote copy, replica, homage, knockoff, or whatever you want to call it, of a higher-end knife, the Ganzo G710 could be the high-value budget folder that may very well be just for you. So, thanks for watching, and in that case, if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.